Hello, I'm so happy I got a hold of you. Welcome back to another exciting episode of LT Showcase. I am Lucious T, and today we are taking a look at one of my most anticipated games of last year, but we're playing it now, and that is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Now, Ori and the Blind Forest, the first game, was one of my favorite games of last generation, one of the best exclusives on the Xbox One, which you can also now get on the Switch, so, you know, if you like this one, maybe you should get both. You can get Cuphead on the Switch now, too. There's really no reason to get an Xbox One. Still want a Series X, though. Anyways, is Will of the Wisps going to live up to the hype the first one set up? Let's find out. What's up?
Do your intro again. I'm going to mock you because I heard it too many times. It was annoying as hell.
Hello, I'm so happy I got a hold of you. Welcome back to another exciting episode of LT Showcase. I am Lucious T, and today we are going to be looking at Ori and the Will of the Wisps, one of my most anticipated games from last year that unfortunately I'm just getting to now. But luckily, because I waited, I can play it on the Switch instead of the Xbox One. Really not a reason to get that system anymore.
No.
Still want a Series X though.
No.
Anyways, is it as good as Ori and the Blind Forest?
No.
Let's find out. Damn it, I actually like that take more, too.
There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. I'm Lucious T. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life. This is retroactive.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps, in a lot of ways, is a perfect sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest. It retains what makes the original great, while adding a whole new level of gameplay and a whole new layer of story. However, I will say, the people who made this were heavily influenced by Hollow Knight. It's hard not to think of this game as almost a Ori and the Blind Forest version of Hollow Knight. In the first game, you didn't really have much of a combat system as far as an active combat. It was more of an agility-based movement game, and then you had a sentry that would do the attacks for you, and then later in the game, you could redirect projectiles back at enemies. And I really liked that because it gave you a sense of vulnerability where you can't do any damage yourself. You have to rely on your sentry, and you have to rely on your wits of reflection. But it makes putting boss fights and stuff like that pretty difficult. So they get rid of that by, in this game, giving you a sword attack, which looks a lot like the nail, and there's a much heavier influence of combat throughout the whole game. They also take more things from Hollow Knight, as you have a map maker, a map maker who maps the things that you can buy, who's hidden in different levels. They have a warp system that you unlock and can warp all throughout the map. And there's even a level that takes place underground that's almost more inspired by Dead Cells, the slumbering sanctuary, whatever, where the light kills you. And that's all covered with dead bugs and everything. There's the big spiders, and just it's definitely Hollow Knight made a big impression on the designers of this game, which for better or worse is there. I mean, you can even heal yourself now with your energy, which is very similar to how, like, especially the first few hours of playing this, it's hard not to think, how is this not Hollow Knight, and how is this, what the hell happened? But the longer you play, it starts getting more of that Ori feel back once you get especially once you get the bash ability, the thing where you can redirect yourself off enemies or redirect yourself off of hanging platforms and stuff like that. Once you get that ability, that's when the game really opens up to the Ori from the first game. Now, inexplicably, you lose all your power-ups from the first game at the beginning of this game, which it's been a while since I played the first game, so I'm not sure why that is, but it's kind of a trope in all these Metroidvanias is, yeah, you have to depower the character somehow. So I guess them not even addressing the fact isn't that big a deal. It has to be done. As far as Metroidvanias go, this one's still up there. I love the way they designed these games. This is an even bigger game than Ori and the Blind Forest. Did not feel lost. Did not feel like I couldn't see everything. The hidden compartments are pretty obvious where you can find the cell upgrades and the life upgrades, but everything is just fun to explore. It's enjoyable. You'll see things in the map that will remind you to go back. When you're looking at the big map, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that had toxic water before, or that had a sand thing that you need to get through. and it'll show you on the map when you come across something that you may not even see. It'll put it on the map and say, oh, here's an ore here, or there's a thing coming up. And it's just, everything is so smartly designed, even more so than probably the first one. It just makes it so enjoyable to go through. Around the midpoint of the game, when you're reunited with your owl, story-wise, you have the little owl buddy you got in the first game, the one who hatched after you killed his mom. He has a damaged wing, and you get a little feather thing that you put on his wing, and you and him fly and have this great soaring thing where you fly to another land that had its light get destroyed, like would have happened in Ori the Blind Forest. Well, this land had its light destroyed, and the whole land's had decay, and the decay has gone through and turned things to stone, poisoned the water. Pretty much you have to go through and restore the light, much in the way you did in the first game. Which, you know, it's funny, it sounds like you're retreading old ground, but it really works, especially just because this is such a nice contained series, and just everything, it's so gorgeous to look at that it's almost like, oh cool, I can't wait to do this again. Now, a little bit gone from the first one was the feeling of having dungeons. In each one, you had the four major sections you went to where you would go inside an area and that'd be a dungeon you completed. You have an escape attempt, and then you get out. In this game, because they focus so much more on combat, you have a lot more boss fights. And so what has happened is the first place you go to is the steam wheel where you purify the water. That's very reminiscent of the first game. You go through a dungeon, you figure it out, you go all these different layers, opening up doors, and then at the end of it, you have a escape from all the pounding water. Which, the escapes are always the best parts of these games, when you just have these almost these Rube Goldberg types of chase cat and mouse where you're escaping, running as fast as you can. There's a lot of trial and error, but when you die in this game, you just immediately spawn wherever your last safe spot was, which is another improvement over, say, Hollow Knight, where that one you have to go back and find your body. This one's a little bit more Meat Boy-esque, where you die and then you go back not super far. If you're in an area where you're getting some of the spirit light, or you're getting one of the ores or the life upgrades, and you die before touching safe ground. You have to touch safe ground. If I remember, it's kind of similar to what you had to do in Celeste when you got the hearts. You had to land on something that was quote-unquote safe, and then you would earn that thing, and even if you died afterwards, you would still have it. But all in all, amazing game. The escape attempts in this one are really cool, especially the underground one was great, where it had the spider boss, the sand one, you have a worm boss, and then when you are up in the mountains, you have an avalanche. So they did a good job of implementing new stuff while still feeling, it still felt similar to the first game in all the right ways once you got your abilities. At the beginning, it was a little disconcerting because it was so heavily combat based, but once you get your abilities to redirect projectiles, once you get the, and also, another reason it's like Hollow Knight is you get these shards. So just like you had the 3 trinket slots in Hollow Knight where you could augment your abilities, well, you got that in this game too. Now, where they get it again, though, where it's an improvement, is that you can carry more than 3, and also on the mini-map, Ori is on the damn mini-map. You don't have to wear a shard just to show yourself on the mini-map. Still can't believe they did that. I hope there's been an update where they fixed that, because that was such bullshit. But yeah, you have shards, and you can upgrade the shards, and some of them just become basic gameplay must-haves. Like, I had to have the stickiness, so rather than doing wall jumping, I just made it so when you touched the walls, you would stick there and you could climb up and down it. I had the one where you could lasso an enemy one time in the middle of your flight pattern. I had the triple jump, so you could do a double jump and then a triple jump. And the nice thing about these is you can pretty much break mechanics at times. You can get up to places you're not technically supposed to because you use this, you know, selection of abilities. Some of the ones that are good early on too, like I did the one that gave me extra energy, and just I didn't play enough with them, and there's so many different abilities too. So you have 3 slots you can assign abilities to. Pretty much I had sword equipped all the time. I had one equipped to the bow and arrow, and then the third one I'd cycle through whatever I was using. So largely I'd go to the heal, or if I'd use the big bash mallet. There's a spear, there's one of these, there's a really cool ability towards the end of the game, or just in the sand, or the snow levels when I found it, where you can throw a projectile in the air and then launch yourself up it. So they added some more convoluted, complicated mechanics in this, that's for sure. It's kind of like, what are you going to do to outdo yourself from before? I don't know if they necessarily needed to do that much of that, because just playing this game is fun, using the tried and true methods they had from before. But it was a welcome challenge to the game, and overall, this is a phenomenal sequel. A little too much like Hollow Knight, but as far as it being, it's definitely this, and with the way the game ends, it's hard to see how they're going to go forward from this. So if this ultimately is a 2-game series, wow, what a series. If I was going to give this a rating, I give it a 9. It's up there with the first one for sure. I probably still give the first one the edge just because I enjoyed the lack of combat more, just that I was such a weakling, because it really was a unique gameplay style. This one made it a little bit more like, a little more ho-hum. Yeah, it's like everything else, but I can't lie that it's still a phenomenal version of what everything else tries to do. So yeah, that's a 9. Pick it up and play it. That's your homework.
Truly no filter. Stop. Stop it!
It's alright, the lighting washes out all those blemishes and age spots. I see you're getting ready.
Here, this is how it goes.
Wave to the camera.
Hi, pinkies up. That's your thing.
Oh, yes, yes. Hold on, pinkies up.
Hi, I'm Lucius. It is me, Lucius. What do I say? Hello, welcome to another edition of Lucius Showcase. I am Lucious T. Today we're going to be talking about Ori and the Blind Forest. It's about a cute owl that dies. And another cute one that turns into a tree. Spoilers, oh well. Welcome to this generation. Peace out.